Here. All right, the recording is live. So we are going to talk today about ETFs such as SPY, QQQ, and then we're going to get into individual stocks where we are seeing some pretty good plays, and we're going to explain why, and then take some questions, and then yeah, go from there. I'm here with P-Trey. You want to say hi?
Yo, how's it going, y'all?
All right. All right, so first of all, we got SPY and this large rising wedge. Um, on the weekly here, to last week we did put a dark cloud covering in on the weekly, meaning it gapped up, sold off, and kind of hovering over this previous candle. Um, this essentially means that it could pull back to the lower end of the wedge. Doesn't necessarily mean it will break the wedge, but it can. We do have those divergences here still in play. Um, on the daily, we still have those divergences as well. And we are getting a little stuck right here going up. Last week was a flat week. We pretty much stayed in a $4 range from 390 to 394, just kind of chopping around. Held at 390 though, so 390 is that trigger. We lose that, and essentially the 20-day, and then a first target 380 is the target of the lower trend line. But we do have a gap here at 377. This candle here, this is not what happened this day. This candle needs to be fixed. And see the low. I'm gonna say let's fix that. There we go. So we have a gap here, as that candle did not have a wick on that day. So there's a gap there. So we're looking at a potential. If we lose that 390, then we would have a possible confirmation of the dark cloud. Now, just because we have a dark cloud doesn't mean essentially it's going to fall. It means there's a possibility that it's going to fall. And if it does fall, and next week is a down week, it will confirm the dark cloud. Dark cloud is not confirmed yet. It needs another down week in order to confirm that. So that's what we're watching here for possibility of a drop on that dark cloud. And we're looking at that possibility because not only is the daily getting topped off and diverged, stochastics are also signaling that it's getting tired up here, but also the QQQs. The QQQs is in this large rising wedge as well. Divergence is evident here. Stochastics already falling, and we are hitting that upper end of that channel. We're right at that 20-day here, which suggests that the QQQs are weaker than the SPYs, because the SPY is not near its 20-day, as the QQQ is actually on its 20-day. So technology is looking weaker in overall. So SPYs, IWM, even DIA, Dow Jones, they're all looking stronger than the Qs. So if you're going to short anything on puts, the Qs would be the go-to because they are looking weaker. There's a gap fill right here at 323, which is going to be the target, and it's going to be also the lower end of that trend line and that 50-day moving average. So looking at that here on the weekly, we put in a bearish engulfing. So that pretty much gapped up and then sold all of last week's gains away. So that is correlating with SPY very well in a possible down week this coming week. So confirmation would be another down week this week. And if we lose this channel that it's been holding for a while, then that could signal that it could drop to the 20-day weekly or that weekly support of 300. So looking at these, looking a week up in here, but of course we're going to be looking at that 20-day for initial loss. Then we're going to go to that gap fill. So once that 20 days lost, then that gap fill should come, and possibly that 50-day. All right. Let's see here. All right. So as of SPY or QQQs, do we have any questions on that before we jump into the individual stocks that we're going to be looking at today? We're going to be looking at about 7 individual stocks and going over all of that, and we're going to go over VIX as well. But with QQQs and SPY, is there any questions that we can answer for you right now?
Steve.
Yeah.
What's up? It's Chris Moriarty. How are you?
How you doing? I'm good.
Yeah. Every time it is bounced off the 21, what is telling you that it's not going to be support and rip up? The QQQs.
It's getting lower and lower on the RSI. So it's telling you that the relative strength is running out. So, picture a basketball, right? When you throw a basketball, it bounces and it bounces high, and then it bounces again. It bounces a little lower, and then it bounces a little lower, and it loses that momentum, right? So each time it bounces off that 20-day, it's going to get a bounce, and that momentum's going to go lower, and that relative strength index is signaling that that relative strength is getting lower. So initially we did bounce on that 20-day here, but the bounce compared to this bounce, right, that was a big bounce. This bounce, we're going to watch and see if we lose that 30 and that 20, then there's no bounce. But if it does, it's going to have a bounce, but it's not going to be as big as this bounce. Essentially,
Gotcha. Okay.
It's going to be a lower bounce, especially because we're up in the upper trend line here, resistance that we hit, sold off. Now we bounced, but that bounce was really short-lived. So we got to see what comes Monday. If that 20-day is lost, then essentially that gap fill is coming. But if it does bounce, then it's going to go towards this this trend line here, unless it breaks out of that trend line and then it has a big giant rally. But it's always possible. But relative strength is telling us it's weakening. The reason why we look at the relative strength index is because it tells us, are buyers really buying, right? Of course, divergences can be broken, but this divergence hasn't been broken yet, and it's been going on for a while, since December. We've been having this divergence created since December, and as we're going continuously higher, 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 our strength is getting relatively lower, lower, lower. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I said, I was just looking, and I said every time it bounced off that 20, she bounced and headed up. It was always support. So I was just wondering, why this time you have you're saying possibly not.
Look at the candle setup on the 20 days from the previous times that it has bounced there, right?
Right.
If you look closely, you see the 20-day. Every time that it's closed either at or near or underneath, it has had a massive week the following week, right?
Right. Yeah.
So look at the current setup. We held the 20-day 2 weeks ago, and then now we're printing a dark cloud cover on last week's candle. So the current setup is a little different than those previous bounces, right? I mean, if you're going off of where the candle is and where the 20-day is and how much of a statement week it made last week, showing a little less strength, in those previous weeks it has bounced off of 20. So yeah, that's, I mean, to me that sounds like it looks like it doesn't have the same repetitive recovery unless we have a massive move towards 335 or 338, the previous high for this week.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys have any other questions with QQQs or SPY? All right. All right. So in looking at QQQs and SPY, we got to look at VIX, right? Because VIX essentially is the opposite in where SPY goes, right? So we've been holding this 20 level, 21 level for a while. We've been we had a bullish divergence here that broke, and then now we are starting another bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart. So here we have this bullish divergence here, right here on the VIX. It has just been going sideways flat, and the relative strength has been rising and rising, and it is trying to get above that 50 mark. Once it gets above that 50 mark, it is signaling that there is really good relative strength in VIX, signaling that there are potentially a lot of buyers coming into VIX. So as this is going sideways, this is increasing, signaling that they are slowly buying this up at this level, at this 21 area, and this is setting up a pretty big squeeze. And essentially when it fires off these squeezes, we get a big pop-up. Not saying that we're going to get a huge pop-up like this. We might get a bigger pop-up. It doesn't suggest what the move is going to be. It just suggests that there is going to be a possible move coming in as our strength is rising. Our DMIs are battling right now. Our squeeze is signaling that a big move is coming, and these two candles here suggest a bullishness as we have long wicks on the bottom here. This suggests that if we get above 22.36 and maintain it, then this has a possibility of moving higher. Now, if we get below 20, that is signaling that we would go down to this 18 target, which is essentially a gap fill area on our daily. On our daily, we have this gap fill here, this huge gap fill from 18 to 21. So 18 to 21, we got this big gap. So if we do lose 20, we will go to 18, which will allow the market to rally hard. Now, if we don't, and we get above that 22.36, as we can see, like it's been having very difficult trouble getting above that and staying above it. But if we do get above it, hold it, then we should be heading towards this gap fill here at 29, and then essentially maybe retesting those 36.50 areas where we sold off from. So what we're looking at in VIX is suggesting some bullishness. What we're looking at in QQQs and SPY is suggesting some bearishness into next week. As we can see, the stochastics are also rising up in the VIX as well. Any questions on VIX before we move on to individual stocks? No? All right. All right, let's get into...
Yeah, Steve, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would be a bullish price for VIX?
Bullish price? Above 25.
Yeah, like
above 25.84.
above 25.
Yeah, because essentially that's above its 200 day. if it could get above its 200-day, that's going to be extremely bullish for VIX, and it can move. And 2584 is a very strong number, strong resistance and support area for VIX. That's why it says death to VIX below, because I was doing this when I was charting, um, I believe these higher ones. So once it gets below that 25, if it stays below, um, it is basically, the market is bullish. In between this 21 to 25 area, the market can be bullish, but above that 25, then the market is essentially weakening and selling off, because above 20, 25.85, people are buying into the fear index, which is VIX, and that means that they're buying puts, which signals that the market is either very volatile or it's selling off. So either way, above 25.85 is bullish for VIX.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, and then just something to watch as well, is that left high right before that head, because it could then submit itself for a head and shoulders. If it was going to come up there just a little bit above 25.84, up there to around 28. So that'll be like the safety net to understand if whether or not it will deny 28 as well, or it'll keep going, you know?
Yeah, we could essentially pop up and fill this gap, and then come back down and then sell off to 18. But from what we're looking at right now, it looks like it wants to pop. Whether it pops up to 18 and comes back down, or it continues, we're gonna have to evaluate that when that happens. But as of now, SPY QQQs signaling downturn next week, and VIX signaling an upturn. So let's get into some individual stocks here. We are going to look at MMM. So 3M, we're looking at, and we see that we had this massive downtrend. We have this massive downtrend here, which we broke a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. We have this massive squeeze on the monthly. We have our RSI, which popped above 50, which is great. We have our DMI crossing over the green for the red, signaling that buyers are coming in to control. Okay. We had very good support here at 150 area. Did come down and hit that 200-day monthly and pop back up. And we've been going sideways in this channel here. We've been going sideways in this channel here. And this is signaling to me that they're actually accumulating in this area. So they're accumulating in this area, and this downtrend is broken, signaling this big, long downtrend, which was very strong, is over. We do have a slight uptrend here, but it's more of a consolidation, because we're not really going too far up. We're just consolidating in this range between the 100-day and 50-day. So once we break above this 187 area, I think this could fly. We go on the weekly. On the weekly, we have that 187 is correlated with that 200-day weekly. We do have kind of this ascending triangle pattern forming. So we have a squeeze on the monthly, and we have a squeeze on the weekly. We have the DMI green in control on the weekly. We have the RSI steadily holding 50, which is great. And stochastics are fine. The volume is deteriorating, but we're in an ascending triangle, which suggests that a big pop is going to come soon. We lean towards the upside because of the downtrend that we broke, the bullishness that we see on the monthly and the weekly, and also on the daily. You can see the consolidation a lot better on the daily. It's kind of just been sideways, sideways, sideways. We did get a big pop over here, but then we sold off. But then we held this 176, which is a major level. That consolidation should be coming up to end, and when it does, we think that this can be a multi-week, multi-month runner. We have targets of 201, 224, 291, and that's it. 291. 291, but I mean the stock is 176 now. You can't even get options years out more than 270. We've already looked. So the highest long-term options that you could get are 270s, whether that's the leaps next year or the year after, or even 3 years after. It's 270s are the top ones, but they're fairly cheap, and
Yep.
this stock, as you can see, when it trends nicely. So if this is the reset and now new buyers are coming in, then this could potentially trend very nicely. And 3M is, one of the world leaders in manufacturing all of the protective equipment for all of the COVID stuff and all that stuff. Whether that's the glue, whether that's the fibers, whether that's the filtrations, whatever it is, 3M has a finger in it. But speaking on strictly like a technical sense, the squeeze on the monthly is beautiful. And as you see, these squeezes fire off and nice. This squeeze fired off and nice. So this squeeze, essentially, we could be getting in on the, not the ground floor, but on a very good area before it starts that push. So when you
Yeah.
ever have a monthly squeeze and a weekly squeeze together, those are very strong. The higher the time frame, and the better the distance that the stock could go. So monthly is telling us, hey, this is looking great. Weekly is telling us, hey, this is looking great. We got that ascending triangle forming, and then we have this long consolidation. Okay, all this, it is what we call accumulation. And when they accumulate like this, essentially, once it breaks out of this range, it's going to move at least the length of this. So, if we say that this is the top. Oops, let me undo that. There we go. So we say that is the breakout point is say 180, 182. Okay. So if we break out of this accumulation area, we're essentially at least from the accumulation going to 218. Okay, and it's getting very close to firing off. So this is a good one that you guys want to put on your watch list and consider getting into, even longer term, and just letting it sit, because in reality, if you purchase this stock long term, even buying the stock, but buy options months out, even a year out, and just let it ride, and it does one of these, that could make your whole year. So consider it. That's the first one we wanted to go off of. PJ, you want to add anything else?
Yeah. So just like you said, at least 218 coming up there, test that resistance, and then that'll confirm more than likely the wave 3 on the monthly. I wouldn't even say on the monthly, on the quarterly. So this can be a all year runner. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that this was used heavily in the pandemic and it still hasn't broken all-time highs, right? So when you think about value stocks, like something like this coming off the weekly 100 SMA and approaching the 50 SMA, and it's about to have pretty much all of them stacked on top of each other. You know, the price action above the 20, 20 above the 50, and so on and so on. I think that this can be like an all year runner coming off these lows. So it looks good, but that 182 is going to be that primary objective for it to break and close above on the weekly.
Yep, that 182. Watching that. Looking at that daily, that 182 has some sell area,
Yep.
but there's so many buyers coming in. It's just
Mhm.
eating it up. So at least we're making higher highs and higher lows. Then we should be setting up soon.
Yeah, if you look at the January 2023 270s, they're about 3 and some change, right? So you're talking about, let me see,
360. Yep.
you're about 3 and some change, right? Three. So I mean, you can look at this like for me, like I was telling Steve, I said I'd rather buy one of these January 2023s 270 calls, one per week, right? And set yourself up for, because I'd rather buy that than buy the stock itself. I'd rather buy one of those a week instead of the stock itself, because this one is set to move. I mean, you could buy shares down here. I mean, if it really actually goes and the way that it looks like on a quarterly for next year, it looks like definitely 300 is coming, but my high target is like around 358. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But those January 2023s are solid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what if this gets up and starts ripping and heads towards all-time highs and breaks all-time highs, then 300 is almost guaranteed. But downtrend's broken, consolidation's evident. We're looking at a potential great setup here. Stop loss on some long term, I would say if you're buying leaps, then that 150 would be your hard stop. If you're shorter term, that 165 area, maybe see what's that 20-day at 162. You could either use one of those 165 or 162. But I think if you hold this long term, you're gonna do all right. This one has been going down while the market has been going up. So now I don't think no matter what the market does, it's gonna have a big effect on 3M. Of course, whatever the market does and the stock is in its favor is gonna have an even better day. So if say the market has a green day and it's up 1%, this would probably be up 5, 6, maybe 8%. Just because if it's going to start its initial uptrend, then it's going to have bigger moves and stronger moves.
Yeah, it's gonna lure those guys who are thinking that it's gonna break out and wanting it to break out to put more money into the stock, essentially. So they're gonna want to be putting on some more shares, calls, and stuff like that when the market is doing well and it can perform 5 to 10% a day on one day where we see some good buying at.
Right. Yeah. And we could compare this area. Let me see. Hold on really quick. All right. We could compare, say, this action to a stock like DE, who we had this long-term consolidation here, and then it just
Yep.
starts ripping. So ripped, long-term consolidation, ripped. We had a squeeze form on the monthly for a while, and then crossed over here. 50 on the RSI held very strongly. Stochastics looking great still, and the stock is just ripping. Now, can MMM do that? 3M? Yeah, it can. It can definitely do that. That beautiful long-term uptrend. Now, holding long-term stocks, long-term options, um, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be rewarding if you do. All right. Any questions on MMM or 3M before we move on to our next?
Yeah, Steve, what's your definition of it's going to be hard?
Because you're going to be you're going to be inclined to take the money that you're
Oh,
making.
just be scared out, you mean? Have so much money and be like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah, you're gonna make some money and then you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take it. And then you're gonna look back on it 2 months later and it's gonna be, you could have quadrupled your money.
And you're going to kick yourself in the ass for getting out.
Yeah, essentially. So that's why I'm saying it's hard. It's gonna be hard to hold them long term. So say you buy these tomorrow, right? Buy year out, say 2022. March calls or something like that, December calls or January calls, whatever you want. And say the stock pops up to 205 next week. Those calls are going to be making some good money immediately. You're going to be inclined to take it. And essentially, you can if you like, but if we're suggesting that this is at least going to 218, 220 area. I would say, 220 is a good target from that essential pop. So if this is going to 220, you're going to want to hold it there to at least there. But if this is going to go and pop over that 200 day, then it is going to keep going and continue going past that 225. Might have a little hiccup at that 225, but I think once it gets over that, this one is going to all-time highs. So, holding on to something that essentially is going to be making good money, it's very difficult to do because people want the money now, right? The money now.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's going to be the hard part.
Just expect pullbacks on the way up. That's about it.
As long as they're making higher lows, then you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it goes to 220, right? So you're thinking about the play ahead. If it goes to 220, right? You see on the left up there by the blue line, there is a drop off zone, right, where it was immediately sold off. So it might face some resistance at the same spot, but then you have to be looking, well, how is the setup currently shaped? Does it look like it could be formed as a cup and handle when it gets up there to 220, and then it comes back down and tests 201 as a handle support, and then fires back up and breaks 224 and runs. Like those are the kind of things that you probably would want to, if you really want to trade this stock, going into like just literally, I think literally someone could just trade this stock the whole year, right? And it could be executed beautifully. But you have to see if, think it forward, how are you going to be able to manage your calls and where to take profits at and when to buy back in. So, if it does have problems at 220, I would say, that it would probably be more likely forming a handle, and probably more likely going to come back and test that 201, because you know why? Every time there's a breakout, there's a newfound support. So that would be cool to know if it's going to do that. But yeah,
definitely. That's why I was suggesting at that 220, 224 area there might be some resistance, only because of let me get some more time on this.
But essentially, Steve, if you were to hold that at 220 and say, okay, I'm going to hang out through this pullback, if it did come back to that newfound support, it would pretty much wipe 3/4 of your profits away. Am I wrong?
It depends, right? Because look at when you put your money into the market, right? You put your money into the market, that money's not yours until you pull it out, right?
Exactly.
So that if it pulls back, those profits, were they essentially yours? No, you never took them out. But if it pulls back, and then it rips back up and continues going, and you don't pull it out for the next 3 months or 6 months, then what did it matter that it dipped then? You didn't pull out your money anyways. You're going to pull out your
Yeah,
money in 6 months. So
yeah,
you're worried about today's problems that you don't have to worry about until 6 months from now.
right. Gotcha.
So I mean, if you wanna time tops and bottoms, then you could do that, but you're not gonna get them right all the time. Maybe not a lot of the times, right? Because sometimes you think it's a top and it keeps going. Sometimes you think it's a bottom and it keeps going.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know.
So I mean, it dips. Then essentially, if you like the stock at 220 and you wanted to buy more and it dips to 201, then you should love it even better because nothing's changed except that it pulled back. So it's actually
Yeah,
getting you a better opportunity to potentially gain. You're just going to have to wait a little bit. The market is on the market's time, and the way that it's going to move and get to its price targets are going to be on its own time, but it's going to get there. You just have to buy that time. So that's why we're suggesting longer term options like Leaps 222, 223s. You could buy a couple of months out, sure, but just understand that this is a long-term play, and essentially it can be a short-term play, but it's going to be a lot more beneficial to you in a long-term play. Does that make
so
sense?
that January 2023, you're looking at the 270 is definitely what you would lean towards.
I would definitely get some of those. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
get quite a few different ones, but yeah, I would definitely get some of those. I think this stock is setting up to be a nice moneymaker, and in saying that, I think you could play this long and short.
Yep.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Awesome. Anybody else? All right, we'll go on to our next one. So we did. All right. So BA, we've been looking at. Posted BA a while ago, not a while ago, maybe like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago in the Facebook group, suggesting that we had a potential cup and handle. Now this potential cup and handle is getting better and better and better because we have this cup and this handle is formed. I said a good area to buy was at 204.90. Dipped below that and hit the 20-day, which was even better. And now it's right here at that 217 area. Now, can this dip still? Sure. It could continue its consolidation. But let me give you a perspective on this. So here we had consolidation. Here we had consolidation. Okay, essentially the bottom of the cup, which is going to always be consolidation. And we have higher highs and higher lows. Okay, suggesting that buyers are buying this up. So this sideways consolidation is considered accumulation. So this cup and handle pattern is an accumulation pattern. So here we have some sideways consolidation as well on top of our consolidation, right? So we have the consolidation here, here, and now we're having consolidation here. So that's considering buyers, buyers, and buyers. So this cup and handle, essentially, it's gonna, if it's just a consolidation breakout, then it's triggered to go, here's the bottom there. It's triggered to go at least just a consolidation breakout. It's considered to go to about 340. So this is a big, big cup and handle. If this continues to hold that 20-day and that 204 area, I lean very bullish on BA. So the cup and handle essentially is signaling that we're going to go back into the 300s. which is $100 play for BA. So
And look at the handle and the volume correlation, right?
yeah,
That's a perfect handle with the volume
it's
decreasing.
perfect handle.
Yeah, it's decreasing, and then once it pops, it's going to have that major massive candle volume.
Yeah,
Uh,
once it
gonna
pops,
break it's going to break that divergence right there. Yep, like that.
it's gonna be like this. So once it pops, that volume's gonna come in, and all these people that have been accumulating in here, they're gonna reap the rewards up here. Um, Essentially, our targets are gonna be this 100 day at 260, and then that 200 day, and then we also got monthly targets, essentially correlate with that 50 day, and then that 20 day here. But I mean, even on here, we're seeing a nice bull flag pattern on the monthly, which is looking very good. And once the monthly RSI gets above 50, that's going to be a very strong buy signal trigger on long term, which we're already going to be in it because we already see the lower time frame plays as we see the RSI bouncing off the 50 here. It is suggesting, hey, buyers are in, and they're in to stay. So DMI greens holding up well, stochastics coming back up, RSI telling us that buyers, even though the volume is decreasing, it's decreasing on sell volume. So essentially, when that buy volume comes in, it's going to be extremely big, and this is going to rip, the RSI is going to rip to like 70, 80, maybe even more. But that's what we're looking at. So on the daily, we could see that that support area was held, broke it, but then got right back of it. And now we even got a little daily cup and handle forming here. A little inverse head and shoulders on the 4 hour as well. So this
Yep.
is signaling higher pricing. So BA, it looks like it's time for some airlines. I don't think this gap is going to be filled. Can some news come out and just destroy all of what we're saying? Of course. And come fill this gap? Of course it can. But as of what we're looking at and what everything's saying right now, it is perfectly telling us that this is going to go higher. Cup and handle on the daily, bull flag on the monthly, cup and handle, inverse head and shoulders on the daily, accumulation across the board. Once this triggers that 244 breakout, then you could almost guarantee 300's coming, and it's going to go past that 300. So BA is going to be a very good, strong stock as well. You could see that the 50-day, I mean not the 50, the 50 on the RSI is holding up very well as well, and BA is looking very, very good. So, any questions on BA? No questions? Let's see here. All right, bad news on BA already. Well, when bad news hits BA, it actually does well. So, you just gotta take on what you see, because like many people say that you know things are going to be bad, things are going to be bad, but you have to understand that these this thing took months and months and months consolidating sideways, right? Popped up, made a higher high, okay, consolidating sideways, okay. Weekly, very evident, sideways, 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 sideways. Okay, all of this accumulation is taking months and months and months. Started what 3/16/2022. I mean,
Yeah,
to,
even if it loses that, even if it loses that 204 at 205, it still has a bullish channel, right?
yeah,
So then it'll just negate the cup and handle pattern, and then just go into just a bullish channel as your tether, as safety net. So if you go down to the COVID crash, to that bottom, retrace it all the way down to the lower end of that cup.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's still uptrending regardless, so it could
yeah,
come
yeah,
over there. What is that? That 50, that 20 day? Yeah. So it's still uptrending.
yeah. It's definitely still uptrending. Definitely still uptrending. Um, is it gonna crash? I hope so, because then I could buy it even cheaper. But buying the stock regardless. BA is one of the biggest employers of the United States, and it is one of the biggest manufacturer of airlines in the world. So is it gonna go away? I don't think so. So what the patterns are suggesting, what the stocks um, charts are suggesting, it's suggesting that this one is going to go. Whether that's going to be good news, bad news, whatever it is, essentially the charts are telling the story that it's going to go up into the 300s. So in all right. So any other questions on there? No? All right. We could move on then. We're going to take a look at UAL as a airline. Sure. We had some bad news over the weekend. On was it United Airlines? Think so. On United Airlines, but it's signaling the same thing that BA is signaling. Um, had that sideways, sideways, and this huge drop here kind of reset the stock, reset it up, reset that stock. Okay, now it's essentially rising up, rising up. It already got past one resistance on the RSI. Now it's going to head towards that 50. Stochastics are going up. Um, Weekly chart, same cup and handle pattern on the weekly as we have on BA. Can it pull back and come back down here? Yeah, that would be great. That'd be a great buying opportunity. Does it negate the cup and handle? No, not at all. Can it come back and fill this gap? Yeah, sure. That would essentially almost negate it, but if it rises up immediately after that, then it would still be solid. And we see the stochastics dipped right on their target and turned. RSI holding at 50 very well. DMI green holding up very well. Squeeze fired, but kind of fizzled out. But we could see that once you pass that 50, this one's going to start heading towards we have that target of 78 as that gap fill. But 87 is a possibility. So what I would do on UAL, if you are scared of the news, then what you need to do is just put an alert at 5108. Put an alert there. Okay. How do you do that? You just double click on a line and you put create alert withdrawing. Once you do that, you create alert withdrawing. You type in bullish and then crosses above. You create that, and now it has an alert here. So if that crosses, then you know that is very bullish. So then if you don't want to buy until it triggers your breakout point, then place that alert there and say, hey, once it crosses that, then I will jump in and it will head towards that 100-day 200-day, and essentially that gap fill, and then that 87. Because essentially, if we do break that 51.08, you're making a higher high. So if you're making a higher high, then we're uptrending. So you don't have to be worried about any type of news or it falling. All right. Any questions on UAL? No? All right. UAL long-term leaps are actually pretty cheap. Pretty cheap. Pretty cheap. Say January 23, and you got, not January 23, January 22. Essentially, we get our target of 78. 78. They're about 380. Essentially 380. If it dips, those are going to be even cheaper. You know what? If it dips, good opportunity, because essentially this long-term patterns, they're created because of big investors buying up the stocks. So that's what we're looking at right now, and we are going to look at a couple more. Last airline stock we want to look at is AAL. AAL, essentially almost same cup and handle pattern, building on our month. We coming off those lows of $8, right? Went sideways, now popping up. It's hitting that 20-day here. Essentially, what we really liked about this is it broke its downtrend, long-term downtrend.
Yep.
Broke its long-term downtrend, which that took a lot. And that is signaling what? Signaling that it's a possible uptrend. That is, well, it's essentially once we break above this high at 2280, once we break that high, this is a confirmed uptrend. We did break the downtrend, so that is actually a very strong sign that we are gonna uptrend, but we can go sideways. But once we break that 22.8, then that's gonna signal a uptrend, and that is gonna be essentially the start of a new trend, as this was a major downtrend from 59. So we should at least retrace to 30, I think. From 60, yeah, we should at least retrace to about 28, 30 area. So
Yeah.
this one could essentially double if it goes to that 50-day at 33. It could almost double. So whether you could buy options or a stock itself, doesn't matter, as this looks good long term. Whether news comes out or whatnot, the stock is still suggesting that it looks great for up. Did you want to add anything, P?
Yeah, so I was looking at the like you said, like the monthly, and this one has the biggest I would say opportunity for you to get into cheap, and for the weight, for how much it has to travel, right? So look at BA, it's in the 200s already. Pre-COVID, it was around like 3 something. And then you look at like for instance, like DAL, and then like you mentioned UAL. They're a little closer to their pre-COVID price, vice, AAL. So this could be a good mover to catch up with the rest of its peers for a breakout. So That's all I wanted to mention, was that it was a bargain down here, and it has a lot more room to grow.
Right, right. So this is that high that we're looking at. So break high, uptrend confirmed. Okay, let's see here. All right, so that is the high. That breaks that high there, and then that uptrend is confirmed. We have broken the downtrend here, broke that downtrend, came back, tested that downtrend, tested it, held it, went up, pushed up, and now we're moving away from it. So unless we have this major sell-off and gets back under that downtrend, then it looks like this is gonna go up. So any questions on AAL? All right, let's go to EA. So EA, Electronic Arts, and let's go weekly. We have this long bullish trend here. Okay, we sold off, and essentially what we're doing is we're making a monthly bull flag, and we're having also a weekly cup and handle forming and a weekly bull flag forming. So we have a monthly bull flag, weekly cup and handle, and a weekly bull flag all in one, signaling that this stock is potentially going to rip to new all-time highs. And if it does, it's essentially going to go towards 275, and it could possibly go even higher to 400. What was your high target on that, P?
Let me check, man. Let me see. 3-year.
I think we were saying something like 375 or 400, something like that.
Yeah, let me pull up the chart. This is EA.
But essentially, I mean,
370, 350. Sorry, 350.
350. All right, 350. So essentially, if it does hit a high target, which of course, it's not going to hit it next month, next 3 months, but over time, this stock could double. So it's 145 now. 300 would essentially be a double right there. But our targets right now are, if we do break that 151.26, then we're going to 172, then 198, and 275, which would be a great run if this does break out. We don't see potentially. We see that we have that cup and handle on the weekly. This is the weekly. We have the bull flag on the weekly. We have another bull flag here. But we don't know if it's going to break out, or if it's going to wait on earnings. Can it consolidate more? It can consolidate more, but it looks good overall on all the higher time frames. Daily, we have a lot of consolidation here, and we do have a little bearish divergence there. So yeah, we can pull back, which is okay, because looking at the monthly, these candles are suggesting a possible pullback, but overall, long term, this stock is looking good. Can it pull back short term? Yeah, definitely can. That's what the daily is suggesting. We do have a squeeze forming. We do have this uptrend here. So essentially what this is forming is a ascending triangle. So if this ascending triangle breaks down, then it could go to that 200-day and retest that, which would be a great area to buy because it's going to retest this previous support right here at 133. If it does that, that is going to be a very good buy trigger. If it comes all the way down to 121, that's going to be even a better buy trigger. But I think if this does fall on this ascending triangle, then we can see a bounce on this 133 as we have the 100-day and the 200-day there, and that 133 support, which is this previous resistance here. So that would be a great area to nibble on, and this would be a great area to nibble on long term. And then if we break that 151.26, then essentially this one can grow some good legs and run. That divergence here is the only concern, but higher time frame charts, they're looking good. Anything you want to add there, P?
No, looks good. Yeah, I was tracking that. I'm already in it for 319 170s. I'm looking for the pop above 151, and then we should start to run. But yeah, ascending triangle on the daily as well as on the weekly weekly cup and handle, and then the monthly bull flag. So yeah, this one's looking like it's gonna pop. There's nothing but good news came out. I'm looking at the fundamentals. I'm tracking the technicals as well, but the fundamentals are looking good too. It's like they're all aligning. They just inked that $1.3 billion deal, and I think what investors are doing here in this weekly cup and handle is maybe taking that with a positive notion. Normally, you would have a sell-off the day after somebody's spending money that you're investing in, right? And usually the stock that gets the investment or gets the deal done is usually the one that runs, or whatever the case is. So I like EA.
Yep. Cool. Do we have any questions on EA?
There's somebody who's saying that I got a question on the 3-year week. Is there a tweezer top there, or do those apply on a big of scale? So tweezer top, right? On the daily, I'm guessing.
On the weekly.
Weekly.
This is a bearish harami. We don't have confirmation yet, but it's essentially a bearish harami. If next week is down and it breaks this ascending triangle, then that's going to confirm that bearish harami, and then we would go down to this 133 area. If that 133 area breaks, which is going to be that 20-day as well, and the 200 and the 100 daily, then essentially would come back to this 121 area. But it's going to be hard to break that 121 area. That 121 area is pretty strong. Pretty strong. Those resistance here is support here, and if it does break that, it's gonna come back and touch this 200-day weekly and 100-day weekly, and essentially do a double bottom with this touch, and then that could either form a head and shoulders, or it could just rip from there. But from what P was suggesting, it's looking like it could hold that area and continue, if not even cancel that out. But yeah, that is a good observation. Looking at that and seeing that, that's why we kind of said on the daily, we got that bearish divergence and we got that ascending triangle. So yeah, definitely can pull back, but overall long term, this one looks good to the upside. So you could play it short, and then you could play it long.
Yep.
Any other questions?
And I'm gonna just go over the weekly setup, right? So people, because some people might ask, like he just got done asking about the tweezer top, and we just got done discussing about the bearish harami, right? So the weekly If you want to go there, Steve, or
The
or maybe
weekly, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna just break it down by candlestick real quick. So on the weekly, right? So you have all this friction up here at was that a right around 140 and just up to there to around 145. Like that area right there is telling us based on the volume, based on the candlesticks that are there, that this can be a short-term accumulation for that breakout that it's pending to pop that 151. And I'll tell you right now, because you see the candlesticks before that bearish Harami, you have a good buy week the prior week, another, I guess, doji or inverted hammer, and then a dark cloud cover, but never lost that uptrend, right, for the previous week. And then a good week the prior week to that dark cloud cover. The break of that doji for this week that we just printed, that lower leg, that shadow, that will be the get out of the 170 calls and reposition, not only because of the doji, you're trading the breakout and the breakdown, because a doji is just indecision. So the top shadow, the bottom shadow, those are going to be our breakout breakdowns, and then it'll also break down from that uptrend that it's holding right now on the weekly. So just going forth, let you guys know, I think this one's going to rip upwards as soon as we clear that top of last week's high, that top shadow. That's just candlestick by candlestick right there.
Right. All right. Yeah. All right, cool. Any other questions on this one? All right, let's keep it going. Next we have let's see, go to the daily. I think we have, yeah, there we go. So we have UNH. So UNH right now, I don't like it long term, essentially, because the monthly is essentially saying, we're kind of topping out on the monthly, and we have this two bearish candles on the monthly forming this month as well. So we have a bearish engulfing last month, and then now we're kind of having this confirmation on this month. Of course, this month isn't over yet. This is the last trading week of the month. So this month, if it is down, then that will pretty much confirm that this is gonna possibly come back down to the 20-day monthly at 287.94. As we see here, this is pretty good support. But let's go to the weekly. Here we have kind of like a little double top area. But we have been going, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 days down. 6 days down. So this is kind of insinuating, looking at the stochastics, looking at the downtrend and the support here, it is suggesting that we might get a pop. We might get a pop up. And I'm only saying that because we're in a descending triangle. Descending triangle pattern, we're holding that 323 area. Of course, if we lose that, this is going to be very bearish, and we're going to continue being bearish as the monthly chart is signaling bearishness to 287. But what we're seeing on the short-term charts, 4-hour charts, is a very strong bullish divergence on the 4-hour and 1 hour. Very strong bullish divergence, and we've been holding that to that 323 area. So that 323 area, as long as that continues to hold, I think this this bullish divergence is gonna pop this up a little bit to possibly 337 on here, maybe even 341. but it might be short-lived, right? We did fill this gap here. Fill this gap here, and we filled that gap. So essentially, can we pop up? And let's see, did I see another gap here? No, that gap was filled. All right, so that one, you can see a potential pop up, back up to this 337 area, essentially. If it does pull off, if not, and we lose that 323, then essentially we're gonna come to this 200 day. We lose that 200 day, then we're gonna come to this 300 area before we hit that 287. And that 287 is gonna be the line in the sand. I think it bounces hard off of that. If it makes it there, I think it bounces hard off of that, as there is so much support on that 287.98 area. So then that could bounce and push up. Essentially, I think that if this downtrend breaks tomorrow, this one could have a nice day. Could have a really nice day, as we do have a little W pattern forming. As long as this 323 doesn't break, that W pattern is suggesting 341. If it does break, then 319, and then 300 is coming. All right.
Yeah.
These are short-term plays, not long-term plays. Longer term, we got to see that, it's looking kind of bearish on the monthly. But of course, we can't say that until the month is done. So Friday, once that candle is set, this will be the confirmation, or it will come back up. So whichever it does. If it bounces this week, this could be a good lotto play. If not, then essentially we're coming back down to this 287.94. Any questions on UNH?
Wait, can you go back to the monthly? I think that's a inside down candlestick. Yep. Yeah, it's a 3 inside down on the monthly at the top of an uptrend. So there we have that for us too. As far as the candlestick formation from those last 3 candles. Could it pop up to 337? Yeah, but there's still the 3 inside down candlestick will still be valid, if I'm making any sense there. So
Yeah, that's what we're saying. This is only a short-term pop, but essentially, I mean, the chart's looking bearish. Any questions? Anybody have questions on the 3 UNH? All right.
So there's a gap at 314. I didn't see a gap. Is there a gap?
Let's see. 314. Okay, that's below. Yep, there's a gap at 313. 313, there's a gap. So essentially, if we lose that 200 day though, it's going to go to 300 and 287.90. So it'll fill the gap on the way down. But I don't think it's any come down to hit that gap and then bounce back up. I think if it loses that 200, it's coming down to that 287. Can it come down to that 3 and kind of double bottom here? Sure. But if it doesn't, then essentially this 288 area is going to be the big bounce area. That's where it's been bouncing. All right. Cool. All right. Now, any other questions or concerns or maybe request? I heard a lot of Apple. We could take a look at Apple real quick. Chart's not really saying too much. we're in this long-term bullish channel here that we just broke. So we're in this long-term bullish channel. We just broke out of it last week. We lost it, but that doesn't mean that we can't get back inside of it. It does start and look kind of bearish, but if you guys remember when we started this live session, we said that QQQs was the weakest out of all of the ETFs. Now, QQQs is technology. It's heavily weighted technology. So if QQQs is weak, then essentially Apple's going to be weak. A lot of tech stocks are going to be weak. So if we do have a market sell off next week or pull back, whatever you want to suggest, then stocks like this are going to also pull back. But what I did like on Apple's daily was the double bottoming tails. It's actually, you could do a little triple. It's like a little triple star here. If this was a little higher, it would have been perfect. It would have been a morning star, but it wasn't. So still like it for bounce, maybe to fill this gap at 132. But essentially, Apple's forming a head and shoulders type of pattern, and it's below, the RSI is below 50. Stochastic is signaling there's a possible bounce coming. DMI is saying that sellers are in control. Momentum suggesting sellers are in control. So once that 128 level is lost, then this was going to be, short the pops, because essentially we're going to have a double top or a triple top area, and then we're going to pull back and essentially could come to this 200-day, and then we have this massive gap fill right here at a 96 area. Buying Apple at 100 would be great. Can it go a little lower? Sure it can, but will it? I don't know. Depends on what type of market sell-off we have. But it is suggesting that Apple is getting tired up here. Let's go back here. So let's highlight this area here. So in this range, it's Apple's been struggling. Struggle. So if we come and lose this range, then essentially we are going to be dropping and falling to the 100-day and then to the 200-day. And then potentially, if we do get a sharp drop, then we could go towards that gap. So we could potentially do that, but depends on what the market does. So any questions on that? Any requests?
Steve, could you, it's Chris again. Could you do something on FedEx, please?
FedEx. Haven't saw FedEx. Let me take a look really quick. Let's see, FedEx here. FDX. Okay. Let me double check. All right, FedEx, I got some stuff on it. So FedEx here, we got that strong support resistance at 259. Looks like it's trying to build out inverse head and shoulders possibly. We got that one shoulder here, we got that head here. We kind of get over, but we could pull back towards this 249 area, and if it holds, then it could possibly set up to push. It did break this downtrend here and then back tested, and now it's forming a potential uptrend. So we like that potential uptrend because this high, it broke, we got above that high, and then we're coming down essentially, and we're creating a higher low. So once we create that higher low, then we can confirm it once it makes a reversal candle. And once that reversal candle confirms that low and it's a higher low, then we could essentially break out, and this would probably head towards this gap fill here at 286. So essentially, let's project it now. So if we drop it off and fire it up, if we keep that 20-day, then essentially, yeah, we'll go to 281 to 286 area and fill that gap. So FedEx, it has a possibility if it holds and makes a higher low. This downtrend broke, great, back tested it, held it, didn't break through it, and then created a higher high, which is awesome. That's what we want to see if we're bullish. And then it needs to create that low. Once it creates that low, it's going to set up to push towards that gap. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. Thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anything you want to add, P?
Yeah, with FedEx. No, I was just skimming through the monthly. The monthly is looking like a bull flag. Depends on if we can shave some of the top of the wick off and close above last month's high at 260. Closing above 260 will be solid for this month. It would pretty much cause possibly a tweezer bottom off this bull flag support right there at 235, 236 area. So I think that will be nice, a nice thing to look at if we can close February above 260. Then we would go ahead and start running towards 268, 280. I mean, I saw a lot of calls come in for June. So that's just something to pay attention to for FedEx, because it is coming off these lows, and it did take a very healthy dip when you're talking about on the monthly. You know, that could have been wave one from COVID, and then on the monthly we just executed wave two because we're basically coming off that low at 235, 236, and now pushing to create this wave three.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
So yeah, and ultimately, if you really want to go back 20 years, I have it on the month. It's in an ascending broadening wedge, so it still has room to gain to go towards 320 by the end of the year for sure. So before it's met with the upper trend line resistance. So yeah, it looks good. It looks solid. I would say I'd be a dip buyer above 235 as long as 235 is not lost, which is a very contested area. If you're looking at it from 2018, it stayed right around that 235 to around 260, 270 area for most of the year before falling out towards the end of 2017. Did I say 18? 17. So yeah, it's a good area to be at. It's where it's, I think personally, it's gathering some buyers that initially were trying to get out back in 2017 around that area. So yeah.
As long as I think it should hold that 20-day and then rally. It's looking good. It's looking good. The weekly has a bearish engulfing on last week, but essentially this could be forming a bull flag, and it can consolidate a little before it starts rallying up again. But FedEx looks good.
Low volume on that sell for that bearish Arami. I mean, that bearish engulfing too, by the way. So that could be the fake out to the pump. See that low volume from last week?
see here. Head and shoulders, not quite. Not quite. So we got one shoulder, we got a head. It hasn't made another shoulder yet. RSI isn't signaling the head and shoulders either. It is signaling a bearish divergence. So we do have a bearish divergence on here. So we weren't saying that it was going straight up. We did say that it could come back down to that 20-day. So if that bearish divergence is signaling that we're going to come back down to that 20-day, even that 249, or here this this new gap fill here
248.
at 248. Yeah, if we come down to that 248, I think it's a buy. I think
nice.
that's yeah, I think that's going to be the low, that it's going to establish the higher low, and then I think it should take off from there. So I would put a alert right here. I put an alert right there on 248 gap fill, and then once that hits, that would be a trigger to get long on some FedEx, and your stop would be 240, 240. Yeah, about that. Or if you're doing a short term, if you're doing shorter term, then your stop would be about, I would say about 246.75 if you want a tight stop on a short term play, because this is going to move within a week or two. So I could see us breaking out of this bull flag within 3 weeks and heading towards that 270 area. All right. Cool, guys. Let's see. We started this at 5. It's an hour and a half going into it. We'll take some requests, and we'll post on Facebook. But I think we're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna call it a day, so everybody could go have dinner. Let's see here.
Can I make a request?
Sure. What's that?
I was wondering if you could look at PLTR, just on the last 3 candles, specifically on the 1 year, 1 day. I was just got a question on those last 3 candles, whether if it's you consider that a tweezer's bottom with an abandoned baby bottom, or what the deal is with just those specific 3 candles.
I consider that a Morningstar reversal, so that's bullish. And I look at the weekly, and it looks extremely bullish with a bottoming tail reversal candle right at that support. So I think this is bullish. And let's see, monthly, not too much information. Weekly, suggesting bullishness. Daily, suggesting bullishness. I mean, that is a evening, Morningstar reversal right there. Once it, and this is already, it's already confirmed. So it's gonna go and fill this gap here, and then it's gonna essentially start its new uptrend.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's in that bullish butterfly harmonic from that breakout that it originally had when we were playing it back in a couple months ago, last month I think or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks good. It has a the way I have it set up is I have it in a upward channel, trending channel. So if you draw the line from about right there, back in November, and then you connect that bottom evening star reversal, you should have a channel trending upwards as it was suspected to bounce. And not only that, but it bounced right there where it was having a hard time when we were trading it back in back during that time in November. So that's just signaling that those guys who were buying those buying Palantir right there around $26, $27, where it was having a hard time breaking out, initially bought the dip right there again and is looking to break this downtrend that it's creating from reaching 45. So it looks good to come up there and test the 20-day.
Yep.
Especially it looks to gap up today overnight and fill that gap as well for what is that, 30, 31, that $31 area.
31.50. Yeah.
Yeah. DMI is crossing, stochastics is bottoming out, RSI is about to cut 50. The way I have it set up on my daily for the 8 EMA is it caught some resistance on the 8 EMA on the daily, but once it gets above where my 8 EMA is at on right around 29.7, it should start to move towards 31, that gap fill, and then break back above 33.50. There was a lot of calls that were coming in too as well, but the major breakout is going to be that $40 area. That's going to break the upward channel, and then it should continue to run. I do have high targets of 50 and 46 for this year, and I've already made recommendations for August 50 calls that are going for around, let me see, August 50 calls going for around 350. So that's what I got on Palantir.
Cool.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Can
All right.
you look at Walmart?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Can we look at Walmart, please, if you have a second? Thanks.
Walmart. Walmart is a long-term play. It did break its channel. Let's see. It is forming a bull flag. Okay, it broke out of its channel. It is pretty much forming a bullish harami on the daily right next to its 200-day. But on the weekly, it is forming a bull flag. But actually, I would suggest the monthly would look a lot better of the bull flag. I would suggest the bull flag be here and here, and I think it's a good area to buy for the bull flag on the monthly, but you got to understand that the bull flag on monthlies take a while, right? They're not like daily bull flags where they'll break out in a couple weeks. Monthly bull flags take months. But is it a good area to get in? Essentially, yes, because not only is that looking at this, it's holding this low here. It's also forming a bullish divergence here. So we have the bottom here, okay, and then we have a higher low here. As compared to here, we have a low, and then we have a lower low here, but we have a higher low on our RSI. That's suggesting that buyers are actually coming in and buying this up stronger than they were buying it here. So they were selling more here than they're selling more here, right? So, we have this huge gap. So bullish harami on the daily, bullish divergence on the daily, and probably on the 4-hour as well. No, not on the 4-hour. Let's see on the 1-hour. 1-hour, no, not either. Just on the daily. But 4-hour is showing a bottoming, going sideways, and stochastics are signaling a bottom as well. So this is actually a good play for the week. I would dabble in some lottos on Walmart for a essential pop up. We have strong base right here, very strong base. 200-day is right below. That could be your stop. And bullish Harami suggests that we need to close above this high here. And once that closes above that high, it'll confirm the Harami, and then we'll steadily rise up to fill this gap or just hit the 20-day. But Walmart looks good for the week. Very good risk to reward ratio, as you know, your stop is right there. Bullish divergence on the daily, bullish pattern on the daily, bull flag area on the monthly, and let's see, I think this is a bearish channel, and I think it's at the bottom of that channel. Let's see here. Yep, we have that bearish channel. It's at the bottom of that channel. So essentially this is telling us that we could pop back up towards that 140, 142, 143 area, and that could be a nice little weekly gain. You guys see that?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Thanks.
So it has a possibility, and you see this channel has been respected very well. Every time it hits the lower end, comes up. It tried to break out of the channel here, and then whatever earnings came out, and then dropped it. Yeah, they missed earnings estimates, dropped it, but it looks like it's getting bought up, so it could essentially pop up. You got to be careful because it can go sideways, but this, if we get above that 139, it's confirming that it wants to go. It wants to go at least towards that 20-day. Cool.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right, guys. All other requests, leave them in the chat, and we'll get to them and we'll post them on Facebook. But I think that we are coming in on 7 p.m. and I gotta respect the people on the East Coast. It's later than that over there, right? It's coming up on 10 p.m. So thank you guys all for coming, and we'll be doing these more often. We're thinking about doing it maybe every Sunday or every other Sunday. We haven't decided yet, but we will we'll try to do our best to get some quality stocks, and then we'll maybe even consider taking a poll during the week and asking people what stocks you guys want to look at, and we'll consider taking a group of 5 stocks, and then you can vote on them, and we'll consider that, and then we'll do our own group of 5 that we come up with. That sound like a good idea? P, you wanna chime in on any of that?
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, the reason why I think for us to do this will be beneficial to those that are trying to get some of these stocks that are, you know, might have questions during the day. They might have questions during the weekend where they can come and maybe talk about them here. You know, I'm always open to answering questions, or at least guiding or helping those who want to get a better idea, as well as sharpening my own iron. So this keeps not only us on our own toes, but it keeps those that are part of the Discord on their toes as well. So yeah, I think this is a good setup for us to start and begin. It'll help us interact. It'll help us find these plays. Somebody might have a different tune, you know, to the stock than we do. You know, they might be watching something else that we're missing. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to sharpen our iron here and come and get together on Sundays and see what's going on with the market.
Yeah, and we'll also be doing this on a different platform. We had some technical difficulties with the other platforms we were going to try to use, but we're going to have all that set up correctly next session. But we're going to post this one up on YouTube for anybody that wanted to review it. That does take a little while, so just bear with us. And then, yeah, any anybody have any suggestions or any things that uh, you want to end with?
Steve, it's Chris again. I just want to thank you guys. That was good. Good stuff.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right.
Is
All
this
right, guys.
going to be for members?
No, this is open to everybody right now, and we're still kind of working out the kinks and seeing like what platforms we're going to be using, and how many people we can have on there, because certain platforms only allow you certain number of people, so we're gonna figure out those kinks and work them out. So we'll keep you in the loop with that.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording here.